What's up everyone, I'm Deanna and I'm trying to scribble my way to becoming a traditionally published author. That was Nix, that was with me just then. I'm once again filming in bed because my chronic illness is acting up again, but that's not important. What's important is that a new year is coming, which means it's time to look back on your achievements and look forward to what we can hope to achieve in the new year. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So, 2025, writing-wise for me, was kind of interesting. Mostly it was like queries and then the new novel that I've been vlogging about. So in January of this year, the first thing that I did, I think, was send out my fourth batch of queries for the novel that I wrote before starting this channel, which is a fantasy novel about two sisters. So that's what I was doing for the first like couple of months, mostly writing wise, was continuing to batch out queries. And in March is when I started my current project, which I've called on the channel for the time being Project Lightwood, because there's a theme of like fire and kind of having to burn things to survive. It's like a post-apocalyptic fantasy novel. Like I said, I started writing that in March, mostly honestly to get away from like the feelings that querying was giving me. Everyone always says that if you're feeling down about querying, what you really should do is start a new project, because that's going to get your mind off it. You're going to feel so much better thinking that like you have something new coming up and something to basically fall back on if this novel doesn't get picked up by an agent. And I really resisted that. I started querying in like October of the previous year, so 2024, and so yeah, I didn't start anything new for like 5 months. But I mean, I did try. I did some like test batch like pieces of writing, like, and I outlined the plot for this current project and that kind of thing, but I didn't really jump in until March because I was finding it really difficult, like psychologically, to sit down and write. But it was definitely good, like I definitely got my mind off things until April, which is when I got my full request for my first novel that I was querying, which was a very exciting full request because I really thought it might go somewhere. It was a really big agency in the US. I'm in the UK, but I was applying like to US agents as well, obviously, because there's, you know, a much wider market. So that was really exciting. That kind of gave me a bit of a boost, and kind of helped me continue writing and working on Project Lightwood fairly consistently during that period until June, which is when unfortunately I got a rejection on that full, and that was definitely like really crushing. And I think my progress with my new project definitely became way more sporadic after that, just because it was like so disappointing at what had happened. But I did still continue working on it, and through July and August I continued also getting like some very promising and like nice rejections from agents, which I hadn't been seeing that much previously. It was more like form rejections and stuff before that. So that helped my spirits, while also kind of obviously being disappointing and making me feel like, oh, like I'm so close but not quite there yet. And you know, September, October, all throughout that period I was still writing slowly, and I write my first drafts by hand, which you've seen if you've watched any of my vlogs so far. And during this time I was mostly having to write outside of the house, because when I was at home I was finding it really hard to motivate myself actually. So I was going out with like my partner and like our friends when they would go to card game and like tabletop gaming places, and I would just sit and write in a corner while they did their tournaments and stuff, just to basically get myself in an environment where I have nothing else to do but write, because I just have my notebooks with me and my phone for my music and stuff. So that helped, but I was still kind of craving more structure basically. So that's why towards the end of November is when I started this YouTube channel. So around the time that I got that initial rejection, I've mentioned it before on this channel, I was made redundant at my job, which meant I had a lot more free time, and in between like looking for work, I was finding it hard with like my ADHD and my chronic illness and stuff to like basically motivate myself and like structure my time and my days. And I thought that I've heard other YouTubers, like other writing YouTubers, say that what really helped them was actually starting the YouTube channel. Like it creates an inherent structure of like uploading videos. It pushes you to progress in between those videos so you have something to show in them, right? Especially for things like writing vlogs. So I decided to try it. with, you know, without spending any money. So I just have my microphone that I had from streaming and my phone camera. And yeah, I just thought I'd give it a go. So after I started that, in quite short order and within a few weeks, I finished the first draft of this new novel, Project Lightwood, and I have a vlog of that, of me finishing it in a coffee shop in Brighton, which was a really nice day trip. And yeah, it feels good to have finally done that and have, like, finishing my first draft in less than a year, which is the first time I've done that as well. Usually, like, I take way too long on my drafts, especially when I wasn't, like, doing this to try and get published a few years ago. So I'm quite proud of being able to finish it in 9 months. That's pretty good, I think. I know that's very slow for some people's standards, but for me, that's like a big leap in, like, the speed of me finishing a first draft. And, you know, in the meantime, I've gained 15 subscribers on this channel, which I'm actually really happy with. And I've made 7 videos, I think it is, counting this one, which, you know, for a dead bitch is pretty good, as the saying goes. So that's a summary of, like, my writing achievements for this year. Comparing it to the plans that I had, this year's kind of been a fail, because obviously when I started the year I was like, oh my god, like, hopefully I'm gonna get an agent, and like, what if I get a book deal? And I had all these plans and hopes and dreams. Not really how publishing goes a lot of the time. Harsh lesson to learn, but I had to learn it. And honestly, I am probably most proud of the fact that I finished this first draft of the new project, despite how I was feeling about writing and how the publishing industry was affecting me. Pretty happy with that aspect, even if the other stuff didn't come true. So I met at least one of my goals, which was writing something new and finishing it, even if I didn't meet the stuff that was, I mean, ultimately out of my control, you know, like, I did query the book as widely as I could, and I finished querying it in October, and I'm waiting for final responses till March again. But I think I've said before, I'm basically considering this book dead in the trenches for the time being. And Nyx is screaming. She always wants attention. Anyway, with all that said, let's instead look forward to what I hope to achieve and do in 2026 in terms of writing. So obviously my main goal is to get Project Lightwood to a place where I can query it with agents again. So at the moment, my plan, I would like to get it done by October so I can start sending it out in October, just like I did before with my other project. But I also don't want to, like, put too much pressure on it, because I've put so much pressure on, like, my previous project and my writing in general in the past, and it just becomes, like, super counterproductive. So I don't want to do that. So if it takes till the end of the year, so be it. I'll just query it in January. That's totally fine. So the current plan is, and I want to do a way more detailed video where I, like, actually block out the months and the times, but the current plan is January to February I'm going to be working on draft 2, which is going to involve typing up the current handwritten version of the manuscript and then implementing any notes that I made in the margins, because I made a bunch while I was kind of going through it, and really just making sure that the rules of the world are hammered out, because there's a bunch of, like, there's not that much magic in the novel, but the stuff that does happen is quite specific. I want to very precisely know as early on as possible, so draft 2 is pretty good. How it works, what the rules are, what the limitations are, like, all that kind of stuff, just to really ground everything, because it is quite, like, a grounded magical setting. So that's draft 2, January, February. March, April is draft 3, because I don't think that it's going to be ready by draft 2. Draft 3 is going to be a bit more of a wild card, like, that will be the draft for hammering out any problems that arise during draft 2, and also because there's quite heavy, like, aspect, like, referential aspect, like references to our current, like, existing literature and, like, literary canon and you know, culturally significant writing and novels and poems and stuff. I think draft 3 is probably where I'm going to really iron out, like, the specific references, the aspects of that I want included, and which specific authors and, like, which specific works by those authors and which specific lines from the works of it, like, the very, very specific aspects of literature that tie into the world and tie into the magic that are going to be used. I think draft 3 is going to be the one for it, because I want it to serve, like, the story I want to tell in the plot. So the plot has to come first, and then obviously the references can come in, and, like, I need to find the exact right ones to combine with. I have quite a lot of ideas for that already, but that might drag on to a third month, honestly. But if it doesn't, then May, June is the first beta reader cycle, so I'm hoping that I can get people, probably I'll start with cold betas or cold reads, so people that I don't know online, get them to read it in May, implement their feedback and collate their feedback and implement it in June. Second round of betas, July, August, probably betas and critique partners that I actually know to like refine. And then September, October, I would hope to do final reads if I feel the need to do another read, and this will be again with more like with critique partners and stuff, and final edits based off of that. And in the meantime, in the off months when my book is with beta readers and I'm letting it rest, I'm going to be obviously preparing my query materials, getting the agent list ready, that kind of thing. My stretch goal for that would be planning and writing maybe like test scenes or like a couple chapters or like a more detailed plot structure for some of the projects that I have planned in the future, but I don't necessarily know if I'll have time for that. It depends how much work the query package is going to need for this current novel, and you kind of don't know until you get there, so we'll see. And then also, because it is tied into my writing in terms of the channel, honestly my goal is to get in this year is to get to like 100 subscribers. That would be great. I think, like, I know I'm sure to some people that sounds like not much at all, but to me this channel, like, I really don't want to put too much pressure on it or on myself to push it, because the writing is still primary to me. I'd like to keep it that way, and I also think I put a lot of pressure on myself in other areas of my life already, like especially and including the writing. And I think it would be nice to have this channel as be of more of like a, I put in what I can, I put in what I want to, and hopefully you guys get what you want out of it as well. It is still primarily for myself and for my own motivation, organization, like documenting what I'm doing. So yeah, I think 100 subscribers would be amazing. I'd be really happy with that. That's not really something I can control, right? Like all I can really do is put out the best content that I can, or like the content that I would have wanted to see when I was starting as a writer, or like developing as a writer, and obviously I'm still developing, but my other goal for the channel is to continue to post at least weekly. So right now I'm posting twice a week, and I'd like to keep that up, but obviously when I get a job again, or like if something happens to my health again, maybe I have to drop down to once a week occasionally, or maybe for more complicated videos, whatever it is. So yeah, posting at least once a week, and then also keeping up a new series that I'm planning to start. It's going to start for the new year. Next week I'm taking a break, so it'll be the week after next week, or like starting on the 1st of January is my other option for when to release the first episode. I won't spoil what it is, but it is a bit more of like a how-to series of videos, and hopefully people find it useful, you know? Like, I think there's some things that I wish I had known when I was starting as a writer, like I said, and if someone had told me what I'm going to be discussing in these videos, probably would have made my life a lot easier, especially as a neurodivergent person. But yeah, that's it, honestly. Happy holidays to everyone, and yeah, I will be taking a break next week. I think it will be good for my health too, because clearly it's like in the shitter. If you want to see this new how-to series, if you're interested at all, if you're curious about my writing process so far with this draft, please feel free to subscribe or check out some of my other videos. I have a video talking about my entire writing career, my entire writing journey so far, and then I have a series of vlogs up basically talking about the process for the current novel, and also another video more like this where it's a bit more low-key and chatty, and that's about actually overcoming failure and disappointment as a writer, because that's an essential skill to have. So if any of those sound interesting, hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!